Hello, and welcome to the Intro to Leadership Training for the SORT program. My name is Courtney Laukitis. I am the program manager to student organizations in the Office for Student Involvement and Leadership, and today we're going to go over the topic of leadership. This presentation is a requirement for the presidents to complete and is a recommendation for vice presidents to complete if you have a vice president within your student organization. All SORT trainings are available on Engage from April 20th to May 20th. And you can find out more information in your email, on the SORT website, and on Engage of when those trainings are taking place. Some housekeeping items to be mindful of before we get started. You are going to be completing your Engage form. That will have some questions based off of the presentation, some reflection questions, there might be activities, all that good stuff. Keep that handy and fill it out as we go over the information. And then when you submit that, that will be counted as your attendance. Of course, you can watch the presentation as I'm recording my screen, or you can just listen to it. Whatever you choose is totally fine with me, but just to be mindful that there is a visual representation as well as an audio. One other thing is whenever you see a title page, if you're watching it, or you hear me say a specific title like purpose and goals or anything like that, that will indicate to you that you can move to the next page within your engaged form as long as all of your questions have been answered. Of course, because this is a pre-recorded video, you are welcome to pause, rewind, fast forward, start and stop the presentation at any point. If you need to, do anything or you're can't complete the training at this time, anything like that. If you have questions, please let me know at any time. I'm happy to assist you in any way that I can. So let's go ahead and get started. In the overview of this presentation, we're going to talk about purpose and goals, leadership definitions, group development, productive relationships. You're going to do an activity called Find the Gap. And then lastly, we're going to talk about preparing to lead a group. Purpose and goals. The purpose of and some goals that I have established for this training is to provide a baseline of knowledge and understanding of leadership, group development, and productive relationships. Participate in an activity to establish areas of growth in your leadership skills and knowledge. And lastly, identify procedures on how to lead your group members in a group setting. Okay, so leadership definition. You should be on page 3 of your Engage form by now. The one thing I will tell you about this presentation is what you put into it is what you will get out of it. A lot of the questions for the first couple of pages are going to be reflective questions. So I will walk you through the content, and then if you want to go ahead and pause the video and focus on your reflection questions, that is totally fine with me. So let's go ahead and jump into this. So the definition of leadership. Leadership is like such a broad, ambiguous term that is really hard to kind of define because, there's all different types of leaders and different styles of leadership. But based off of my best friend Google, there were 3 common definitions for leadership, and that includes the action of leading a group of people or an organization, which is exactly what you do, the state or position of being a leader, which is exactly what you are, and then the leaders of an organization, country, etc. So they talk about, 3 different levels of leadership within that. So go ahead and take some time. I'm actually going to pause myself for a few seconds just to, give you some time to pause the video and focus on your own reflective questions there about leadership and what it means to you. Okay, so now we're on group development. So this would be page 4. And group development comes from a competency that is from Corey C. Miller, who is actually a faculty member at Wright State. And she is one of my favorite people in the entire world. And her definition of group development is as follows. Working together is not just about achieving an outcome. It is about participating in a process. Leaders need to pay attention to the group process, ensuring that the group feels a sense of connection and commitment to both the group and its members. This connection and commitment can foster a sense of trust through which members share ideas, give feedback, follow through, and make difficult decisions. By understanding how groups form and develop, the leader can foster group development and thus enhance the group's efficiency and effectiveness in an empowering manner. When I read this in her book, that's called Student Leadership Competencies, I felt like it was such a connection to what the president and maybe even the vice president do within an organization of how do you lead the organization in a positive manner where your members and other officers are trusting you with the mission and purpose, the activities, the meetings, all that sort of stuff. And so I wanted to focus some time on, and you have 4 questions there on your form, to ask you, how can you create trust within the organization? How can you show investment in the organization's mission and purpose and values? And then how can you establish strong retention and recruitment for the rest of the semester, maybe the academic year, and then even beyond? So go ahead, pause the video again if you'd like, and answer those questions that are on your form there, and just dive deep into the thought there. If you need to see the definition again, it's on the screen for you now. But think in deeply into what group development means for your student organization and how you can foster some of those connections and relationships and the commitment to it. Okay, productive relationships. This is, what am I on now? Page 5, I think. Page 5, productive relationships. As long as the title page at the top of your form says productive relationships, you're exactly where you need to be. So productive relationships, again, from Corey C. Miller. Leadership involves having meaningful connections with others. Simply interacting with people does not constitute as a relationship. A leader who cultivates productive, mutually beneficial relationships with others can create a trusting environment in which people cares about each other. This allows for channels of communication to open for the emergence of new ideas and honest dialogue, a personal and professional support structure to develop, and the creation of a shared commitment or for a vision or task. Now, again, it talks a little bit about what we just read for the group development definition, but these two really focus on the relationships, the trusting environment, the structure, communication, the commitment, everything that goes into being an effective leader is centered around these two ideas. So group development is how are you going to bring people together, and productive relationships is how are you going to treat those people once they're all together. I have 3 questions that are written for you to kind of focus on. Again, dive deep into the productive relationships. Think about how you want to communicate with them. Think about how you would, manage some of the new ideas and the honest dialogue and all that sort of stuff. I think our experience in COVID has really prepared us to have more honest dialogue and share some of our, deepest ideas and visions for different organizations and that sort of stuff. So go ahead, one last time, pause the video, think about productive relationships and how you would create strong lines of communication, the freedom to express new ideas and concerns, and supporting members in their goals. Personally, like if they're, focusing on like, I want to become a better written communicator, that's like a personal goal. But the organization goal of, I want to focus on a specific task within my my role. So, recruitment or having, 50% attendance at events or anything like that. 2 different kinds of goals there. How are you going to support those members in their goals? And I'm going to give you this productive relationships definition one more time. So you can pause here if you'd like. Go ahead and answer your questions, and then we'll move on to the next part. Okay, so this is the activity part. So find the gap. What do you need to know in order to be successful within your leadership role? So this is actually an activity that I found on the internet. It was designed for education, for I think it was elementary education or maybe middle school education. But I just really thought that it was this amazing concept of how there are different types of gaps that we have in maybe our personal life or our professional life. The gaps include things like knowledge, skills, and experience. And the key to achieving the gaps is to identify them. So you don't know what you don't know, right? How can we identify some of those gaps and provide an opportunity for you to focus on your own goals to become a better and stronger leader? So the gaps that Find the Gap is going to focus on include skill, knowledge, capacity, will, cultural competence, and emotional intelligence. So this is from the actual activity that I found online. This is the definitions of what each gap is, and then the examples of, what that gap is. So for experience, technical elements of a task. It's kind of like a big, broad thing. But an example of that would be, I need to have experience in educating new members on the organizational values, processes, mission, and purpose. I need to have experience on leadership development and being prepared. Knowledge, practice of understanding a subject, right? Examples would be that I have a gap in knowing who my members are and connecting with them. I have, let's say that you have 50 new members, or maybe you have 5 new members. They're first year students or second year students, whatever. And you need to know who they are. You need to be able to connect with them. One of the funny knowledge things may be knowing your constitution. How do you function as an organization in case this is your first time being a leader? Or how, maybe if there is an amendment that has changed recently in your constitution, how can you know what that is? So I'm going to leave this up here for just a few seconds in case you need to pause the video and read through it. But this is just the gap, and then the definition and the example of what one of those gaps would be. Okay, so on our next page, and this is also included in your form too, this is a screenshot of the exercise that I created for my specific organization, which is SORT. So I have a profile on Engage, and whenever I'm making videos, I kind of use SORT as an organization. So this is what I learned in my own reflection of finding the gaps. So the experience, what kind of experience do I need to have? Well, I need to be able to research activities and the content to teach so that it's effective for the goals that I have established for this program. I need to be able to articulate how to complete the trainings and activities because these are done virtually and everyone learns differently. So I need to be able to communicate effectively how to complete those things. Things like cultural competence. I need to be able to identify learning differences. Self-disclosure, I have a learning disability. I have a comprehension issue, and it takes me an extra long time to learn how to do things. So I need to be mindful of how I'm communicating if other people have learning differences or challenges with their, with comprehending or just practicing a task or anything like that. The will, I think this is kind of like a funny gap to have, but it's the truth. So today is April 8th and it's 12:18, and I've been recording videos for over 2 hours right now. And I'm going to tell you the truth. My voice is exhausted. My brain is almost fried, but I have to have the will to want more for myself to give to you all, regardless of how tired I am, so that I can best serve you and prepare you for that training and for your future role as an organization leader. Additionally, I have to build rapport and trust with you all in terms of the content and the trainings and how it actually is applicable on campus and within the organization that you serve. So if you want to stop the video, you don't have to. It is available on your form, but I just wanted to give you a visual representation of what I'm kind of looking for in the Find the Gap activity. Sorry, I just had like a total brain fart. But I want you to think about what your personal experiences are of being in your student organization, and you're going to fill out your gaps for the different competencies, okay? So reflect on the areas of growth that you will encounter during your role throughout this next academic year or your officer term. What do you need to know or work on in order to be successful based off of the gaps that are provided in this activity? You're welcome to rewind and pause the video as often as you need if you want to go back to go over anything, or if you need to review the definitions page or anything like that. But then on the form, you will fill out your areas of growth in each gap. Be creative and mindful of what it takes for you to be an effective leader. So we have we have like 170 student organizations on campus, and none of us are alike. We all operate differently. We all have different experiences. We all have different levels of knowledge with leadership. Maybe just knowing what it means to be a president for an organization like Abilities, or knowing what it means to be a president for an organization like WWSU. Those are all very different. They're very, very important positions, and I want you to think about how you as a leader can find the gap to be more successful and work on some things yourself. So go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump ahead. So go ahead, pause the video, work on that activity, and whenever you're ready, go ahead and click to the last page. Okay, leading a group. So we've thought about leadership and what it means to us. We've learned a little bit about what it means to be committed to the group development and creating this trust in this culture of what an organization is. We've talked about productive relationships and how we're going to build those relationships with our members and with our officers. And then we've also identified some gaps. So let's wrap all this up into a beautiful little package and talk about what it means moving forward with leading a group. So leading a group, these are things that I have seen and witnessed as to what student organizations are doing on campus. And I want to give you this honest feedback of here's how you can be successful moving forward into the fall semester. Share your information. I know that sounds so kind of silly and like obvious. But don't surprise your student organization. Share information, whatever that means to you. Share ideas, share accomplishments, share your financial goals, share whatever it means to you, share it. So establishing that primary platform of communication, is it going to be a Facebook group? Is it going to be GroupMe, Slack? Is it going to be apps that I don't know because you all are younger than me and I can't keep up with the times anymore? What is your primary platform of communication going to be? Schedule meetings. If you're going to have executive board meetings and general body meetings, decide whenever those are going to be, bi-weekly, weekly, monthly, whatever they are. And of course, discuss the budget. This is so important. And the treasurers and the presidents will also be completing a banking with SIL training for the budgeting. But discuss your budget and be open about it, okay? If you did not request money through SOBC, that's totally fine. How are you going to function financially for this next academic year? And how can you as an organization support each other within those goals? Some other things, just want to be that person that reminds you to allow participation to happen in meetings with committees, at events, if you're doing a fundraiser, service opportunities, anything like that. Provide the opportunities for your members and officers to participate as a group, but also to do things in their own way that they can, soar as an organization leader and focus on their goals and grow within themselves as well. One of the best things I can also tell you is to hold each other accountable. Figuring out how you're going to show up to an event or a meeting, and if you have an expectation for someone like your secretary and say, hey, have you done the agenda? Like, no, I didn't have a chance to do it. I need help with it. Great. Let me make sure that, you have that done, and let me help you out and all that sort of stuff. And holding each other accountable for the tasks that you're supposed to be doing within your officer descriptions. If you say you're going to do it, please make sure that you do it. One of the other things that is super important and that I really want the student orgs to learn this year is to plan ahead of time. I know that, especially with COVID, life is just nuts, right? We don't know when things are going to happen. We don't know what our parameters are going to be. Things change statewide and nationally almost every single week regarding the pandemic. But what can you control within your events and meetings, and how can you plan those ahead of time? We have a whole other training about managing Engage and submitting events and all that sort of stuff. And so I can help you with others, tutorials and tools and resources and that sort of stuff to help you with that. But just be mindful that you do not have to submit your meeting event submission request 3 days in advance. You could do it 3 months in advance if you would like. I would highly encourage you to do that. And then lastly, of course, ask questions. Ask questions of your members, ask questions of your officers, your advisors. Me, you are more than welcome to come visit me, in my WebEx room, or if, we're all on campus, that you can come into my office, all that sort of stuff. Just figure out how you can ask questions. So you have a couple questions there on your form. There's about 4 questions there talking about planning and preparing. So I hope that you're able to answer some of that based off the information that I'm sharing with you. But just think, dive deep and think into how can you plan and prepare to lead your group based off of the content that you learned today. So we're going to wrap up here. So this is the last page of your form, question and answer. There is a box there if you have additional questions. I wanted to provide this opportunity to you because we aren't able to be in person, and I wanted to give you the opportunity to ask a question if you had one, and if you don't, that's totally fine. You can just leave the box blank. But there is my contact information for you. My name is Courtney Laukitis. I'm the program manager of student organizations in the Office for Student Involvement and Leadership. There are 2 ways to email me. If it is about SORT, in your registration and training processes, go ahead and email me at sort@wright.edu. Otherwise, you can contact me at courtney.laukitis@wright.edu. And then there are my virtual office hours for the rest of the semester and into the summer. They may change a little bit in the fall, but we'll update those as soon as we can. So thank you all so much for your participation. I hope that this was helpful to you to kind of just think strategically and think, just really deeply into how you want to be a leader for the next semester. So I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.